Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel and our celebration of spooky season. And today I want to highlight three more particularly scary or spooky animated moments. I didn't finish my last video. I was going to talk about five, and I ended up only having time to talk about four. So I'm minimizing this particular number. I'm only going to tell you about three. So this video will either be short or I'll end up talking a long time about each one of these. Some of them maybe deserve a little bit more discourse than others, but the one I didn't get to tell you about is naturally the one I'm going to talk about first, and that is the song Friends from the Other Side from Princess and the Frog, The Princess and the Frog, which came out in 2009. This one stands out to me because this scene comes from the last 2D animated feature film that Disney has made. And I do not find, since then they have done CGI. All their animated features have been CGI. And while I've seen many great stories told in CGI, and a lot of vivid, dark scenes in CGI, like, for example, the trash compactor scene from Toy Story 3, if you know, you know. But for some reason, I don't find CG animation nearly as satisfyingly spooky as 2D animation. And this particular number involves Dr. Facilier, a voodoo practitioner voiced by Keith David, so that alone earns him cool points. He is intent on weaving a transformation spell on Prince Naveen. So he lures him into his sideshow tent and begins to sing with a heavy bass drum beat backing him up. This song is not only spooky but also catchy as all get out. I don't know whether it would have been the song I wouldn't have wanted to listen to at 6 or 7 years old before going down to a nap, but I saw it as an adult and loved it. But still, it has that spookiness that 2D animation does so well, because while he is singing, shadows are cavorting around him and masks sing backup vocals with the voices of the dead. After all, that's what Friends on the Other Side means. He has friends from the ectoplasmic community. So it's a delightfully spooky, creepy number, and it makes a fitting, I guess you could say, conclusion swan song for the Disney 2D animated feature. A number of animation fans, including myself, really wish that the company would bring that back. Certainly it needs to do something, because I think maybe Encanto was the last Disney film that I thought was really high quality, and that's been 5 years ago. Anyway, rather than this becoming a Disney rant, because I don't, you know, I'm one of those who just wishes they'd do better, not one of those who just wishes to obliterate the company. I just wish they'd make better decisions creatively. But no more Disney. The other two are from other animated properties, and I'm gonna take a slight detour here and point out why The Nightmare Before Christmas is not on this list, despite it being one of my very favorite watches around the holiday season, beginning in Halloween and ending in Christmas. So if I love it so much, why isn't it here? Because I have it on a different list. But, sorry, little distraction there. It's time to talk about Watership Down, made in 1978. And when I was, I believe, in the fifth grade, either the fifth grade or the sixth grade, this film came on HBO, aired repeatedly on HBO, and I watched it as often as I could. If it aired on HBO and I was able to watch it, I did. So I guess that tells you a little bit of what kind of kid I was. Now, for those of you who do not know, Watership Down is an animated feature based on a book by Richard Adams, which tells the story of a group of rabbits who leave their home after a prophecy that their home will be destroyed. Now, the whole film would qualify for a lot of people's list. I heard another YouTuber remark upon this film, those who saw it wish they hadn't. I wouldn't go that far. Yes, if it was represented to you as an adorable children's film with fluffy bunnies, and then you watched it and you saw what it actually was, then I can see how it would have been traumatizing. But it was never misrepresented for me. I knew going in that it was a much more naturalistic type of story. And nothing except you could argue for the end when one of the protagonists dies of old age, but there isn't really anything supernatural in Watership Down, but the imagery is vivid and the violence of nature is not really sugar-coated or soft-pedaled. So the one scene I want to talk about is the scene in which our protagonists, our Lapine protagonists, have settled in their new home, and an old acquaintance, a survivor from the old warren, comes looking for them, and he tells the story of how the prediction came true, how the old warren was destroyed. It was destroyed by developers who wanted to build a subdivision or a supermarket there. They wanted to build. So they had to bulldoze away all the terrain in which those rabbits were living. So as he tells his story, we get the images of this destruction, and you have the earth being torn apart by these bulldozing blades, and as it's torn apart, you see the soil beneath as a blood red color. You see trees being ripped out by the roots. Not just little trees, but I'm talking big oak trees. And as they are torn out by their roots, the shadows of rabbit corpses, limp shadows, come flying out and are tossed aside along with the uprooted trees. And then the pièce de résistance of the whole scene involves the blocking of the rabbit holes. They're all filled in, and as the rabbits try to get out, they are caught in the tunnel and all mushed up together. And the animation shows them as phantoms with bright, frightened, wide eyes. So, not holding back when it comes to the horror. After all, we are seeing this and we are imagining it as one of the rabbits might experience it. So, they would experience this as an atrocity. And so that is what it is animated to look like. There are other unnerving moments in the story. There are fights that end in bloodshed. But for me, this is that film's spookiest moment. Now for my third example. This comes from Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. In telling the Pinocchio story, Del Toro sets his film in fascist Italy, and instead of basically following in the footsteps of Disney's film, he decides to do his own spin on the story. In Disney's film, the boys go to a place called Pleasure Island. And as they indulge in all their worst impulses, given free rein to behave as badly as they want to without any consequences, they think there are no consequences, but there end up being terrible consequences. And that is that as they indulge in dissipation, they gradually transform into donkeys. Humans being turned into animals. Well, that's a horror staple, right? Things being turned into other things, most particularly humans being transmogrified into beasts. So, the loss of humanity. Well, in Del Toro's version, you don't have Pleasure Island. Instead, you have a group of boys, including Pinocchio, shipped off to a camp where they will be trained into child soldiers in the service of Il Duce Mussolini. And the head of this enterprise is a man named Podesta, who is one of Del Toro's absolutely despicable, 100% rotten to the core villains. And he has a son named Candlewick, who befriends Pinocchio. And when they are given a challenge, they're supposed to plant a flag on a tower, and whoever plants the flag first wins. Well, as they are competing, Lampwick, that was the original name in Disney's film. Candlewick and Pinocchio start to cooperate, and they end up planting their flags at the same time. Whereupon Podesta puts a pistol into Candlewick's hands and says, "Kill him. Shoot the puppet." Now, one of the main things we know about Candlewick is he will do just about anything for his father's approval. But he finds himself unable to do this. So Podesta strips the gun away from his hand and shoots Pinocchio himself. Why this is particularly unnerving, and of course it ends up several times during the film, Pinocchio goes to the land of the dead and then comes back out. But what makes this particularly terrifying is that instead of man becoming animal due to dissipation, you have a deliberate transformation of human into beast, where you have to get rid of all the things, all the best things that make you human, like cooperation, like compassion, like empathy. This is what Podesta wants to root out of his son. To make matters worse is that we learn that the camp was destroyed, but we never see Candlewick again. We never learn what happened to him. So, did he get killed? Did he end up going along to get along? We don't know. The film never shows us. So, it's an unnerving question mark that hovers over a powerful, vividly animated, and rather heartbreaking film. So there you have it. Those are, counting the previous video and this one, those are my seven top scary moments from animated features and shorts. So next time, I'll be coming back with heartbreaking horror movies, a list of heartbreaking horror movies that scare you and yet manage to give you all the feels. So coming up next,